All right, yo. We are here, yo. Hello. We are here on the second channel. Oh my god, it's like I never left. Yo. Wow, what a very long beard, bro. It's a very long, respectable beard that I'm sure nobody will want to chop off. Hi, Mochi. Mochi, my little buddy, is hanging out with me right now, and he's chill. $5 worth. Dude, I'm trying to give you your money's worth. I am. I'm literally trying to give you your money's worth. I'm absolutely doing the best I can. For right now, I mean, again, like I've said before, I think it's like, what, June, July. Come June, July, I can do more with this channel. Right now, we're piss chilling. We need to piss chill for like 2 months, and in 2 months, we can have the camera set up, and the hand cam, and the Warhammer, and all that shit. Fuck, we could do cooking on this stream. I can do anything. I can literally do anything. It's just a matter of getting over there right now. It will take a little bit of time, but it's okay. That's the idea. Okay. The question is, what do we do right now? Should I play Dawn of War? I think we were playing Dawn of War earlier today, and it was pretty fun. It's a trip down memory lane, for the most part. What are you looking at? You want to come sit up here? I'm going to see if Mochi wants to come sit up here real quick. Let's see what little buddy's up to. Let's get him up here. This channel has a nice theme going for it. You like it? Which theme is cooler, dwarves or pirates? Look at this dog. You can't really see him. Hello. Skaven. That's not a good answer. That's an answer that's going to get you banned. Okay. Did you see Winrose is playing in Montreal Tuesday next week? I'm probably going to see him here in Quebec City. That's cool. I'm not going to be here next week. Most likely not. Hi, Mochi. Hey, baby. Ow, don't bite me, baby Mochi. No $5 worth? What are you talking about? Pirate dwarves. I mean, pirate dwarves do exist in Warhammer, and they're cool, but they're not a thing anymore because they all died. Oh, look at his head. Stop it. The Warhammer Pirate Slayers were called Long Drong's Pirate Slayers. And they were absolutely a thing, and there is lore. And I like their minis. Their minis are kind of cool. This is what they used to look like. Pirate dwarves. They existed. They're real. Way back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. Very old sculpts, but they do look good. What games do you play on this channel versus the other? So typically on this channel, it's more niche-centric. Very not popular games for a very not popular on Twitch franchise, which is Warhammer, right? Pirate feet, bro. Dwarf feet are like, I mean, come on. But these are cool. They're older, but you know they get the point across. They've got cutlasses, they've got flintlocks. The leader's got a fucking pirate, or not a pirate, sorry, a parrot on his shoulder. I think it was named Bitsy or something in lore. But it's cool. It's a deep cut in terms of like where they are, right? It's a mercenary gang. And also there is a pirate city in Warhammer Fantasy, Sartosa, right? I believe it's supposed to be like Tortuga, obviously. Now there's only pirate orcs. I wish there were more. I mean, piracy in 40k in fantasy, it's a thing. It's just not at the forefront of like anything. You know what I mean? Like realistically, the most famous pirates in any of them has to be the freebooters. Like they have their own miniatures, they have their own, well, they used to have their own rules. Not anymore. I got the Fantasy Dwarf box in my garage somewhere. Well, they're all coming back now. So, like if you look on eBay, eBay is full of people who are scalping, like gouging the fuck out of prices, because typically when it comes to Warhammer, it always retains its value, and when it's old, it gains in value, right? People want older miniatures, out of production miniatures, unreleased miniatures, rare minis. People will pay good money for them. So the problem was when fantasy was gone for like at this point, what, 10 plus years, 15 years, I can't remember. Everything skyrocketed in price, right? All the old out of production fantasy minis, dwarves, goblins, orcs, empires, Skaven, all of it was gone. And they ended up bringing it back recently for retail price. You know, Skaven have always been here still, but like for the races that got really shit on and didn't make it to Age of Sigmar, their prices went up tenfold. I'm pretty sure for the longest time you'd find like Tomb Kings on eBay that are worth 4 times the price of retail, 5 times, 6 times. Like people didn't. How do you buy that, right? What year were those getting released before Age of Sigmar? 2006. You talking about like the Dwarven minis? Fantasy stuff in general was probably what, 90s, 80s, late 80s? When did Warhammer Fantasy First Edition come out? First Edition Warhammer Fantasy was what, just roleplay? And then later on, it developed into a war game where you could take your roleplay minis and make them into a battle. There's a good documentary on stuff like that on YouTube. I think his name is like Jordan Sorcery. He covers a lot of like old school stuff. I'm gonna say 90s. Warhammer Fantasy becoming a war game, I believe, was in the 90s. Was it second edition? So second edition might have had rules, but there was no starter set. I think third edition Warhammer Fantasy. No, not even third edition. When did we get plastics? Fourth edition Warhammer Fantasy. Fourth edition, I believe, was the first time there was actually a box set sold. Well, people would have... Oh, honestly, I don't really know the deep lore of D&D, but, like, I know for a fact war games became a thing because you had so many miniatures and they wanted to turn it into more. So I mean, if D&D was that game, then that kind of makes sense, right? It's like, what do you do with all these fantasy miniatures, right? You kind of want to put them into a game, right? So Warhammer Fantasy 4th edition, which is, I believe, the first edition that sold you plastic miniatures in like a big box set to play the game, came out in 1992. 4 years before I was born. 1992. Why is it so hard to make new models? With what? You talking about make new models to like make everyone happy? Like you kill fantasy and make new minis? Or what are you talking about? I think it was probably, I mean, D&D doesn't have a war game. D&D is like exclusively role-playing. So you've got like your little adventuring party, and then you've got NPC minis and stuff like that. Like, I don't think you're really creating large-scale battles that are played, right? Because Warhammer now is more of a war game. It's like a big board game, essentially. You move a bunch of pieces around on a table, and then you roll dice and they kill each other. The cost could be worth it, yeah. Essentially, when it comes to making miniatures, I believe, like, they kind of, they can gauge what will be popular and what won't be popular. I mean, it costs money to make minis. Think of League of Legends, right? Easiest terms, since most people come from that. When they make a skin, they need the skin to sell. You have to put money into it to then make money, right? So when it comes to making new miniatures, do you put money into something that will sell, or do you put money into something that you're gambling, right? Like a new creature or a new thing, a new this, a new that. It's easy to make money off Space Marines. Space Marines, you can always make more and always make money. But when it comes to like weird niche creations that they just want to put out in Fantasy or Age of Sigmar or 40K, wherever, you know, it's probably a little bit more of a gamble. So when it comes to making miniatures, like, why don't you make more? I mean, it's a money thing, right? Like, you have to sell a bunch first to make money, and then you can create more, and then make more money, and then create more, right? Hopefully everything sticks. You know, you don't want to create a miniature and then nobody buys it because it's like, we don't need this, right? It's expensive stuff. It's not cheap. Like, all the stuff that goes into it and then the production of it is pretty expensive. Well, of course, money matters. Well, they're a business, right? You can't say money doesn't matter. Businesses can't thrive unless you make money. You can't just be like, I'm going to start up a business and I'm going to make every dwarven miniature that I want. And it's like, okay. I mean, pretty high, I would assume. If you're making Space Marines, like, you're making good fucking money. Like, come on. The Space Marine stuff, holy shit. Why do you think Space Marines are in literally every fucking starter box? They know what they're doing. Every time there's like a new Games Workshop release, they show you something Space Marine. Like, molds, plastic injection molding, I think is the most expensive, if I'm not mistaken. Whereas if it comes down to like casting in resin or casting in like the metal, the pewter I believe is the cheapest and the most accessible. Resin, I guess, as a material is expensive, but the casting process is much cheaper still, I think, than plastic, if I'm not mistaken. At least give something for everyone. What do you mean? I mean, you can't really make something for everyone, because something for everyone would mean everyone needs to like something the same. You know what I mean? That's why I mean, we could literally look at the Games Workshop website right now, and if you're looking at like you can, let me do Canadian prices. Actually, let me do USD. So, can you 3D print little Space Marines? You can 3D print anything you want. 3D printing is amazing. It's excellent. Okay. So when it comes to Warhammer, you can't really create, like, I don't think there's ever a product, unless it's like something you can use in life, that was created for everybody. Not something for everyone. That's not what I'm saying. Because realistically, everyone's into something different, right? Like, I think objectively, the majority of people are in this section, right? The majority of people who like Warhammer, even if it doesn't include me or you, this is the majority. Because they wouldn't be pursued so much, right? And these are like, this is Games Workshop's baby. The Space Marines are everywhere. Any media, any fucking action figure, a show, this is the number one. So it makes sense to kind of like push more of this. How are they going to know if something sells if they don't even make it, like dwarves? So when it comes to the old world, so the dwarves live in the old world, right? The old world is essentially a collection of old miniatures that are coming back for purchase. You can rebuy old miniatures. And you could say, well, you know, where is this interest coming from? Why are we bringing this back? What's the point of making new miniatures for an old game that has old miniatures and it's not up to date? Mainly in regards to the dwarves, right? It comes from Warhammer Total War. So there was a big breakthrough success game, Warhammer Total War, and it was based on this universe. The orcs, the goblins, the skeletons, the dwarves, the humans, right? From that old setting. And it was a massive success. And when that game came out and when that game got popular, this game was dead. It was gone. It wasn't even being sold anymore. So that's kind of what makes it relevant again, is that everyone enjoys Total War. And what is Total War based on? It's based on this. So if they're going to make new dwarves, it's because they saw the success of that game, and they're looking at this like, okay, we can make a couple new miniatures, but the majority of what's returning is already made. So as an example, you look at the orcs and goblins. The orcs and goblins have been around forever, and what they're selling you, what they're reselling you, are completed old sculpts. These were sculpted in like early 2000s, late 90s, I think, for the goblins. These were made ages ago, but people want them. Fuck, I want them. I love these sculpts. I grew up with them. Memories galore. I love it. So they'll do that, but then they'll basically give you a couple of new things that don't really... I'm sure it doesn't take Games Workshop much in the way of resources, but they can still sell you new things to get hype around old things. So as an example, let's go through all of this. This is old. This is old. This is old. Old, old, old. These are new. They made new dice. Every race is going to get new dice that are themed around the army. That's very typical Games Workshop. That's cool. You know, if you want to play with your green skin dice and pay 42 American dollars for 20 of them, that's cool. That's new. Old, 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 old. These are a given. So you get cards to play the game. You get the book to read for the rules. These are new. They have to be new. They make this for every army. Old, 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 old. And when it comes to new stuff, the greenskins got two things. They essentially resell you old stuff that people love, but they do make minor characters to suit, you know, maybe new things that they want to push. So this is brand new, right? And they're playing it safe. It's an orc. The whole army's a bunch of orcs. You can't go wrong with it. If you like the look of these, you'll probably buy this. It's brand new. You know, it's not a big risk. They're not putting a lot of money into it. It's not like they're redoing the entire orcs and goblins line. So the goblins got new sculpts, the orcs got new sculpts, the shamans got new sculpts, the giants look different. Nothing here is taking a big risk, right? And then they bring out one miniature, or two rather, because there's another one coming out. It's an orc shaman. Something very minor, right? So you say, well, you know, how do you know if it's going to be successful if you don't even release it? Well, you start small. If there are enough sales with this thing and all the other new stuff that gets released for the old world, then they'll keep up with it and they'll probably bring out more. Typical for Warhammer Fantasy, though, or rather the old world, is each race isn't really getting... Like, Bretonia got new units. So... I guess everyone was kind of salty that initially this race was killed completely. They never even made it to Age of Sigmar. And they actually did make a unit, which to them is a lot more money, right? This is plastic. A lot more work went into this than that one orc, obviously. But chances are, you know, they can push a few things like this, but again, they don't want to go all out. They're not going to just take a whole army and redo the whole army. Mochi, what are you doing? You're biting me, dude. So something small. A unit, but the majority of these sculpts are all old, brand new. I think Bretonia got what? Fuck, Bretonia got a few new sculpts. Bretonia got the questing, the Knights of the Realm on foot. They got the BSB Pegasus Knight. They got the fucking questing Knight Paladin. And they got the BSB. They have 4 new units. That's the Green Knight. Yeah, that's old. And the Tomb Kings, I think, got, what, 2 new units? They had the big giant Lich Bone Dragon thing. And then I think they also got one guy on foot, right? The Tomb King, and then the BSB Tomb King. Yeah. They don't take it, like... I mean, for old stuff like this, you don't redo everything. You know, they do take big leaps, though. They really do. So the biggest leap they took recently, in terms of releasing an entire new army, is they gave Space Dwarves a place in the universe again. So this is the newest army they came out with. It's still a play on the older stuff, because there used to be old Space Dwarves. And they took the plunge, and people love them. So instead of a couple of units, they said, here's a whole fucking army. And they work, they sell. People were demanding Space Dwarves, right? People like Space Dwarves. They're cool. I guess it's kind of like, if it's an old idea, they're more likely to come out with it instead of creating something new, right? So the Leagues of Votann were initially squats. That's what they were called. In today's times, maybe it was supposed to be a derogatory term back then too, but essentially what squats are in lore currently are these guys, but instead of being off with their own people and stuff like that, they live on Imperial worlds. And squat is like a derogatory term because it's just a squatted human, right? It's a short guy. So it's... Or they're like, yeah, from that old lore, the lesser, you know, one of the worlds that got destroyed by the Tyranids, which is old lore. But if it existed at one point in Games Workshop's history, I'm sure they want to bring it back. Like, Leagues of Votann used to be squats. And I think the squats came out in, what, the 80s? Rogue Traders Squats. Release date. The squats were first shown in 1987. So these are from 1987, like the update from that time. They were 1980. See them here. I believe, I mean, again, I gotta jog my memory because, like, this stuff is kind of hectic sometimes, but This is what the first Space Dwarves look like in 87. And yeah, they're... You know, they do like to go back and kind of bring things from different time periods. I haven't played Votann yet, no. Dwarves in the future for Total War Warhammer 40k dwarves. I mean, maybe, if you're lucky, the Votann could be there. Squats for first edition 1985 Rogue Trader. Did they have minis back then? In 85? I own some of the, I own the plastics. I own the egg bots. I think I own a few trikes. I mean, they're cool. They were basically used as, like, replacements for guard units. I believe the difference in rules was that they had less movement, but they were tougher. Whereas the guard were more, like, well-rounded because they were humans. Individual ones, yeah. Henry Cavill's Warhammer 40k show on Amazon. Slan also did have models, and the I don't think the Hrud did. I don't think I've ever seen a Hrud mini. I don't think I've ever seen a single Hrud mini. They made new Space Dwarves and people liked it besides not having so much attention before that. Yeah, like it was always a cool idea, and people liked the idea of Space Dwarves, so they ended up bringing them back. And the coolest thing was that it wasn't even so far-fetched, because it was an idea in the 80s, right? And essentially what Space Dwarves are, what the Votann are, is humans who traveled off into the stars way back when to colonize planets, to seek new ones, and they would end up colonizing worlds around, like, the galactic core, where the gravity was clearly a little against them. And so over time, through technology and stuff like that, they were able to make themselves more suited for their environment. So they essentially would clone themselves once they had their genetic shit all whacked up and whatnot, to be able to live on these worlds. And over time, they basically just got disconnected from the Imperium, and they're now viewed as a Xenos race. Even though they were humans at one point, like, through cloning and technology and just their atmosphere, they're now an alien race. Which they're still, you know, human, but not really. Or at least they once were. So it's a very, like, plausible thing. It's not like, oh my god, we dug into this planet and we found space dwarves. They look like humans, but they're not. Do they have any alliances? Do they even want to work? I don't think they want to work with the Imperium, right? Because they have that fucking Votann. They have the abominable, like, technology. And the last time the Imperium dealt with technology, it fucking almost wiped them out. Something like that, right? They have, like, a lot of old Imperial technology that they just don't want back into the hands of the Imperium. Yeah, if the Imperium found out what the Votann had, they would come and murder them. Or they would try to. They would, like, absolutely want to kill all of them. The Hrud model is a Hrud model from Dark Heresy. Hrud Warrior? Is it a Skaven? That's all I'm seeing. I'm not seeing anything on Google. Votann are giant memory banks. Votann, so at the center of each, they call them the Leagues of Votann because they're leagues of people who live and follow different Votann. Votann are like God to them, essentially. It's like the way of life and all the information from their past and everything, and it's a giant fucking, like, mechanical database that just tells them everything, that knows everything. Some of them are in good standings. Some of them are fucking corrupted and like spewing nonsense, diluting everyone's minds. They worship AI. That's basically what it is. But it's like AI that's also part of their ancestors and stuff. Like all the previous memories and everything is all stuffed into it. It's a giant memory bank. It's a way to like latch onto the ancestor concept. Because like the dwarves have always been about, oh, back in my fucking ancestor from 30,000 years ago. Yeah, we're cool, dude. Like, he lent me this axe and I still got it 50,000 generations in the future. Like, they always think of their past and who came before them in pretty much every setting. The old Harad were Space Skaven as the model. Oh, because I kept seeing images of like the Harad being, it looked like a Jawa. Like a Jawa with a fucking rat tail. Mochi, stop. You stop right now. Yeah, they're very technologically advanced, though, as you can see. They don't fuck with cheap shit. AI got corrupted heavily by chaos in the entire... Yeah, it's like Skynet, bro. It was literally Skynet. So that's why that's why these guys have no interest in the Imperium. Again, if the Imperium found out about like the Votan and everything in their societies, they would wipe them all out. Like there'd be quite the war. I haven't done 3D printing in a while now. Votan are cool, but like again, not my favorite thing. I think they're a little bit aesthetically, I think that's my biggest problem. But they're very 40k. Like these could use beards. Like for God's sake, this guy just has a mustache. This guy has no facial hair. Aesthetically, I think the Votan are like, for me, a little too jarring. But, you know, it's subjective, and that's fine. What are the purpose of those dwarves in the universe? Their purpose? I mean, all these people do is go for, like, ores and minerals, and, I mean, they trade and make shit for other races. They just do stuff. They exist like any other. Do they have, like, a grand goal? No. Not like the Imperium where they want to fucking, like, take out chaos and cleanse the galaxy of all heresy and alien filth. Pretty sure the Votan are just existing for the most part. I don't think there's no grand, like, thing for them. Which are usually the dwarves in most settings. They just want to exist in their own little space. They want to dig. They want to mine. If you fuck with me, we're going to wage war until the end of time. But if you don't, I'm cool, dude. I'm hanging out my mountain. I'm hanging out on my planet. Whatever. But there are, I'm pretty sure, you know, points in time where Votan do go out and they try and, like, harness ores and minerals on certain worlds that are being occupied. So, right? Like, pretty invasive. No, I mean, 40k is all about war and violence and death. Like, it's not like these are peaceful people. Or they don't, you know, actually fight. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, the main conflict is the Imperium against Chaos, is it not? And then everyone else is like the middleman. Everyone else is kind of doing their own thing. The Tyranids want to consume all. The Tau want to fucking, like, what? Unite the galaxy for the greater good to stop whoever. The Orcs just want to fight everyone. The Necrons, are they still wanting, like, total domination? Probably. Leagues of Votan just want to piss chill. Genestealer cults are Delulu. Drakari just need endless amounts of torture. Eldar, I guess, just want to survive. Chaos just wants to fucking take over everything. Imperium wants to take over everything but stop Chaos. Like, Necrons want to kill everyone. Everyone wants to kill everyone. Not, I mean, some do. Necrons want to take over everything. Well, that's never going to happen, I'm telling you right now. They're Delulu, bro. They're Delulu. Yes, that's true. Yeah, the Necrons are a cool concept. Necrons were, I mean, I can't tell you when, but like a long fucking time ago. In a galaxy far, far away. Long time ago. Wasn't it that their planet was so hostile, or not hostile, but it was so toxic that they all started to just fucking like die and wither away? And then they found a being that would grant them immortality. And he essentially transferred all of their souls into metal automatons and controlled them until they were able to like break free. Yeah, they were enslaved by the Satan. Catan, the Catan. I mean, there are images of like, you know, fan art of the Necron tier of what they would have looked like before they got put into their metal tombs. They had a super weak atmosphere, so the sun's radiation cooked them. Should have stayed dead. Should have stayed dead, bro. I don't side with no Necron. I'm sorry. Should have stayed dead. I mean, the 40k lore is so good. It's just a matter of knowing all of it. They can't stay dead. Well, they should have stayed dead. Bastards. Cook the fucking planet again. Destroy it. Like, bro. People love Necrons. People really do like that race. Yeah, I don't think you would enjoy that. I don't think anyone would. I feel like there is probably... Well, why haven't the Tyranids taken over the galaxy yet? Why haven't they just consumed everything? You'd think for, like, a galaxy at war where everyone's trying to kill each other, or for the most part, most people are, the Tyranids are, like, just fucking zooming around eating shit, and everyone's just so preoccupied with something. There's too many of them. Yeah, either way. Yeah, the Necrons, true. And the Krorks, the OG orcs, the Krorks. Well, I think for something to exist, it needs... For something like that, the Necrons... Well, because the thing is, as well, is that the Necrons fought back, and they were able to enslave the Catan, right? And use them as weapons now, or rather, like, living batteries. So, going back to, like, their previous life, I mean, they weren't fucking savages, you know? So it kind of makes sense to give them all personalities and, like... Each leader is their own unique person who has different wants and desires, and, you know, like, it's good that they did that instead of just, yeah, everyone being the Terminator. Can't seem to find my game. What do you mean find your game? Like, you can't find what game you like? Mochi, are you so happy? If you want to have fun, I would say the most fun you could probably have playing a game, because it's so fucking casual. Legion, Warhammer, Middle-earth, Fire and Ice. haven't committed to anything. I would say if you're going to commit to one, you should probably commit to a Games Workshop like title, right? To like Age of Sigmar, Fantasy, 40K. You'll most likely get more people involved if you do. Complex Games, been playing board games for many years. I think it's a matter of, like, you go to local game stores, right? Like, you've probably seen people play games locally. Because if you want to play a game with other people, you need to see if other people play that game. Do Warhammer. Do Warhammer. Everywhere in the world, most likely, if there is war games or board games, has a Warhammer community. A lot of the other games are kind of niche. And honestly, I think you could probably find games and find a lot of support doing like 40K or Age of Sigmar. Lord of the Rings is a bit niche. Middle Earth. If you basically want to be guaranteed to find a game, play 40K. Play 40K. There still are a lot of people who play AOS, but like everywhere has 40K. Because, like, when it comes to board games or Middle Earth or, like, these other niche games like Blood Bowl or Legion Imperialis, people will play them in these communities, but it's still niche, right? It's, like, probably 3 of 50 people. 4 of 50 people. Sometimes it bugs me how it makes, like, chainsaws and futuristic weapons work. I don't think, when it comes to 40K logic, I think you just roll with it. Because it's so fucking crazy, half the shit you can't even explain. Bretonnians? Yeah, well, play Old World. Bretonnians are back. Like, I mean, half the shit that the orcs have in 40K is literally just bashed together, and they think it works, and it works. Old World doesn't work with Age of Sigmar. The Old World is basically fantasy. It's big blocks of units walking into each other, whereas Age of Sigmar is more like 40K. It's a bit more free-flowing. You get to move miniatures around, like, not as a big block, but as, like, cohesive enough individual units. I mean, there is, you know, honestly, there's nothing stopping you as well. If you like Age of Sigmar as a game, if you end up playing Age of Sigmar and you like it because it's so chill, which is why I like it, there's nothing stopping you from using Bretonnians in this game, but more of a visual point of view, like a visual representation, because they don't have rules, but there's nothing stopping you from like buying Bretonnians and then using these guys' rules, but using Bretonnian miniatures. You know what I mean? That's another option. You won't necessarily be playing Bretonnia, but you still get to look at all the minis, which is what I love doing, because, like, half of these armies I don't really care for, but I love dwarves, but I do like the rules of them. Custom prints, too. Yeah, people do 3D printing all the time. Movies and TV shows, I wish there was more media for it. I mean, only now is media really coming out for, like, 40K. Like, they did the whole Warhammer Plus thing, they had Astartes, and people were really seeing quality things get made. So right now it's on the rise, and I think it only started recently too. They used to have this stuff, but, like, you know, all of it was very fan made, and that's great. It looks good, but the quality is going up with this stuff, and people are going to want more of it. What army does Mochi like? Mochi likes dwarves, or else he wouldn't be my dog. Astartes was a big part of it, absolutely. I'm pretty sure Astartes even, like, started the whole fucking thing, really. Kings of War minis are pretty cheap, and I've used them for non-40K GW. Kings of War. Oh, the Kings of War Mantic stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of just fantasy. right? Like half their minis look literally like fantasy minis. I mean, there's also 3D printing. 3D printing's a thing. Like, if you're worried about money, this hobby is probably the worst thing you could get into. If you have the funds to play the hobby, to play 40K, Age of Sigmar, whatever, like, you can go hog wild. I'm already into Magic the Gathering. Well, there you go. If you're into MTG, just get into Warhammer, honestly. Start with 40K, go Age of Sigmar, go Fantasy, do whatever you want, but remember, it starts at the aesthetics. Like, if you like looking at something, you will probably enjoy the game more than if you don't like looking at something and you play the game. Like, you can base your whole army completely off of aesthetics and lore, right? It's not always about winning or having all, like, you know, fucking whatever is popular now. If you like Black Templars, play them. If you like Bretonia, play them. Well, there you go, done. That's how I choose my fighting game mains. That's how I do everything when it comes to gaming. Aesthetics. It's always aesthetics. If you're into model painting, just go to Etsy and buy some cheap models. Etsy is pretty good. 3D, okay, I'll tell you right now, if you get into 3D printing, don't get into 3D printing. Like, just, uh, it's, holy fuck, oh man. Resin 3D printing is a fucking nightmare. Like, start with buying prints from other people. What? What is he doing? Oh, he likes eating it over there. Dark Souls Unmatched Nemesis, yeah. We'll do it tonight. We'll clean it tonight. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Come back in 10 minutes. Come back in 10 minutes. You can't smell it. Okay. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. She's trying to get me... What? Okay, I'll be right back in 2 minutes. Can you show the process of resin? I can explain it to you. So the way resin 3D printing works is you get your machine, your 3D printer. You get a liquid vat of resin. You pour it into the reservoir, so like a little tub. A plate falls into the resin, and images, layers of images, are sent up through the screen at the bottom into the resin. The cam's on, by the way. And it basically fuses to that plate, and over time, it keeps sending images that solidify, 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 and at the very end of it all, you get a miniature. The miniature's on your plate, you scrape it off, and you have a mini. So that's basically how 3D printing works. It's very simple, but the process is satanic. Resin 3D printing as a process is so fucking awful. I did it. It was not fun. I had a good workflow, but it was one of the worst things I've ever experienced. I will be back in 2 minutes. BRB. Yo, 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 yo. I got water. Delicious. Maybe in a few minutes. I will. I just did, 1 sec. Be free, Mochi. I guess I'll do Black Templars once I go over at least half of my painting minis lists. 100 and 103 minis from board games. Yeah, once you get into Warhammer, you'll have a lot more than 100 minis to paint. I'll tell you that. It is not a hobby of, I'm going to finish everything on the weekend and be done and never have anything else to do. You're going to be doing so much. I think the number one thing when it comes to Warhammer is don't get ahead of yourself. Should I get into FDM printing for terrain purposes? Yes, absolutely. FDM printing for terrain is, like, insane. Terrain, buying to, like, okay, well, here's the thing. You want to get into 3D printing for terrain, not purchase terrain that's 3D printed, right? The number one thing you need to do before you get into anything 3D printed is you need to do research and really prepare. I think a lot of people jump the gun when it comes to 3D printing, and they don't have enough stuff or enough space, or they just don't know the process. 3D printing is a hobby in itself. Space and ventilation are like the number one things you need. Space, ventilation. GW stopped making a lot of terrain and it's scalped on eBay? Yes, it is. I mean, they had some really sick terrain. The old Warhammer Fantasy stuff was awesome. Excuse me. Why is the music so loud? Chill out, bro. I think if you've done your research when it comes to 3D printing, you will be much better off. But as someone who's done it, I can tell you, I wouldn't do it again. Well, I would do it again if I had an entire garage to do it. There was a guy who scanned the air quality and it was toxic. Well, shit. Yeah, not good. Hi, Mochi. Ow. Hurt me. I did read some of it. I don't think it's worth it. Cheaper long term? Oh, yeah, for sure. It should be cheaper long term. Just have space. You're good. That's the number one thing, space. And ventilation. GW is right. One of the best models was the Green Knight, because every 3D print version I have found of him cannot really compare. Where is that shit again? I mean, it looks good, but it's not my favorite. It is cool, but it's not my favorite. I mean, I'm pretty biased. Like, objectively speaking, this is really nice, especially for when it came out. But I'm not really a Bretonian guy. I see this, and I'm just like, ugh, Bretonia. Ugh, horses. Ugh. Like, this reminds me, to be fair, this reminds me of, like, what's that thing we used to do? What's that performance you used to go see when, like, they had a bunch of knights jousting and you ate chicken with your hands? What's that shit called? Medieval Times. I don't know if you're Canadian or not. Medieval Times. We used to go to that. Yeah, Medieval Times. That's what this is. Right. It's cool. It's really cool, but I've never really been into stuff like this. I prefer dwarves. Well, it's very Renaissance fair. Yeah, stuff like that. This is USD. This is USD. This is indeed not Canadian dollars. Always a fun time. They still do that, eh? I haven't been since childhood. It's cool, though. I mean, Bretonia is a fan favorite. Everyone, for the most part, everyone does kind of like Bretonia. I mean, why else would they go all out in remaking the faction? Right? Maybe Games Workshop just loved it, so they're like, okay, here we go. You're going to get some new units. You're going to get new command units. I don't see an in-between. I mean, I think they're okay. I like all Warhammer, but I love some Warhammer more than others. Right? Like, I'm not really a Bretonian fan, but I think they're cool. I'm not a fucking Tomb Kings of Camry fan, but I think they're cool. I think all this stuff is really cool. Well, super generic. I mean, that's kind of the charm to this stuff, though. What about dwarves? Dwarves are super generic, but they're fucking badass. Right? Not talking about the rune magic or anything, but like basic infantry, the way they look aesthetically. Live in a mountain, grumble. Who's not in the same universe? What are you talking about? Are there any good gaming conventions in Canada? I can't even think of one. Then again, maybe I just don't go out and look for them, but like, I usually don't go to conventions. I've gone to Comic-Con. I've gone to like Otaku-Con because my girlfriend wants to go, so we're like, okay, I'll go.
I got 2,000 points of 1,000 summons at Adepticon for less than 250, where they made... People were giving stuff away. I mean, that's kind of sometimes what you have to do with, like, minis, if they're in really bad states. Like, sometimes they're glued poorly, painted poorly. You know, they're not in the best shape. It's more of like a TLC thing. She cosplayed, I didn't cosplay. What are your favorite factions? Which are your favorites? Like, factions or miniatures? I mean, for me, mostly it's just dwarves. Dwarves and orcs. Like, for each game, 40k Leagues of O10. Old Warhammer Fantasy, dwarves. Age of Sigmar, a dwarven race. It's not that I haven't played anything else. Like, I used to collect a shit ton of orcs. Right now, I'm selling my orcs to fund dwarves. Because why keep them if I don't play them anymore? So chances are I will be selling a shit ton of brand new orcs. Lots of brand new orcs. What are your favorite minis in your collection? I don't have any on me right now. You'd have to wait. Wait till like June, or maybe at the end of this month, we can have like a hobby stream, because I'll be there with my stuff. I want them. Sell them to me. You really want orcs? You want a shit ton of orcs? Like, are you serious? I'll sell you them. I have a lot of orcs. Like, unbuilt, brand new. I have rare, Forge World. I've got tons of shit, bro. I got packs of squig dice. Well, because at one point I was doing a big orc army. And some of it was made, some of it wasn't. I found good deals. You know? The miniatures are a game, yeah. I mean, I will be listing stuff in the Discord that I'm selling. It will mostly be centered around orcs. I might part ways with like a few dwarf things that I don't care for. I think I have Gazgul. If you want Gazgul, just wait. I could sell you them for like below retail. Brand new, never made. I have the squig dice. I have a lot of squig dice. At one point, I was going to make the squig dice the squigs. So we'll see. I've got like older books, like Orc Collector's Edition books, just a ton of stuff. I used to play Orcs all the time. And now I'm like, you know what? The age of Orc is over. It's time to go back old school dwarves. At least with the Votan. I actually heard this kit is leaving the Codex. Or I don't think it was this kit. I think it was the mech shop. I think they dropped the mech shop out of the game. It's not even on the web store. Yeah, you know who they're discontinuing, Sharkaden? Captain Badruck is no longer playable in the Codex. Gone. Did you know that? Just quit orcs, bro. Quit orcs. Don't play them. Just don't play them. Supposedly, Captain Badruck got axed. So did, supposedly from leaks. Supposedly. Captain Badruck is gone. Grotznick is gone. KFF Orc is gone. I mean, we'll see though. Maybe they're gone. I think I did read somewhere that Badrock is actually gone. Dude, I just got Badrock. The model is gone in their store, eh? She's gone, bro. You know, maybe he's gonna get a new mini. I think it's just because they want to streamline it a bit more. Watching you guys nerd out about Warhammer is quite hilarious. Well, apparently the new codex had a leak where, like, they said data slates were missing, and Badrock was one of them. Because the book isn't out yet. The book is on pre-order. When the book officially comes out, I think you'll be able to see it. I don't know. Dude, I'm done with the orcs, I told you. I'm not playing these green fuckers anymore. I'm done. It's the age of the dwarf, okay? I'm happy with my one named character and my 6, like, data sheets. I'm fucking depressed. It is what it is. At least you have Gazgul, which is like Uber Giga Chad. Like, you could still use him as the boss snob in the flash kits. You could. Right? Nothing stopping you from using him here. Is this guy? It's not the same experience, I'll tell you that. But, like, at least you can see him. No, I got Votann. I'm more interested in, like, fantasy, but Votann are definitely going to be made and played. But the pirate orcs, I haven't cared about orcs in a while, man. I just gave up on them. I don't know. I love them, but I'm focusing more on dwarves. Everything, it always goes back to what you loved initially, which is the dwarves. For me, at least. It's full circle. Full circle. No, but the Wa banner is gone. I have that mini. It's in Finecast. I'm running Aranessa in a literal dead game as a generic mercenary hire. I mean, if you like the mini, that's cool. Well, I'm saying this, dude. If you want any more orcs, I'll sell you some orcs. If you want, like, another Captain Badrock brand new, I'll sell you Badrock brand new. I ain't gonna use these fucking assholes anymore. I own your models. How about a, do you want a Forge World Battle Fortress? You want a $500 Battle Fortress? I can't do anything. I can't do anything with it. I'll post stuff in the Discord either way. I gotta get rid of all this shit. I don't want it. Orcs are cool, but again, I like how the Stompa is the same price as the Gork and Morkanaut. That's crazy. Are you gaslighting my dude? No, I'm just saying, man. No one is forced to do anything in this earth if you don't want to, except pay taxes. You need to pay taxes. What is the best orc clan? The one you like. Or I would say, crazily enough, I want to say Goths. I want to say freebooters, but, like, I gotta go Goths. Goths are just classic orcs. classic mean green melee machines. Like the very standard orc is very appealing. That's what I'm going to go with. Like freebooters, they're cool, man. They're really cool. Don't get me wrong. But like they don't get any love. They don't care about freebooters. They'll sit here and they'll make like 500 Space Marine chapters with like upgrade sprues. But then when it comes to like a minor part of an orc army, or the equivalent is like a chapter, they don't care. Like the only real thing they made for this was like what? One pirate unit, and then the Beast Snagga boys, which are snake bites. So they did snake bite units. They did... I mean, the buggies are like universal, realistically. I guess you could count them as speed freaks. Evil Sons. Old World Eaters. Kill Cruiser was sick, but it was so shit. But it was cool. Like, thematically, how is it painting metal? It's not that hard. I mean, if you want to paint, like, non-metallic metals, that's a different story, but, like, true metallics, be like black, silver, wash, silver. Why did the orc cross the road? I don't know. The old derpy-looking 5th edition plastic models that came in a box of 12? It was the movement phase. Okay, I see. He moved across the road because it was the movement phase. That is true. Fantastic. Yeah, it's terrible. It's trash. But it was thematic, and thematic is cool. I remember when we played that first 40k game on Tabletop Sim, and I got the rule wrong where, like, Green Tide would basically replenish infinite amounts of units. Do you remember that? The very first game we did. You know what's funny? They brought back that rule. Except now, if you're on an objective, I think for 1 CP, you bring back D3 plus 2 or D3 plus 3 boys for 1 CP. It's not like insane, you know, we're back again, boys, here's a whole squad. But, like, you can replenish people on the go. It wasn't a whole unit of 30. Yeah. It's like, you just killed 30 boys, have fun killing 30 more. Here we are. Ooga booga. It's fun, but yeah. I do eventually want to do more tabletop sim. I really do, because it's fun. And I haven't played anything on tabletop sim in so long. I'd love to get back into it. It's just right now I have no time. Well, dude, I have no time. I have absolutely no time for anything. I thought about getting the new fantasy books to be able to learn stuff, but, like, man, it would need to be... Well, first of all, the dwarf book has to come out. I think I'd have to buy, like, Forces of Fantasy, which is the good guys, and then I'd have to buy the rule book, which is generic, and then I'd have to buy the Arcane Journal of the Dwarves, so I need 3 books to play dwarves. I'll do it if it's on this channel. I don't mind. If it's on this channel, I'll do whatever. But I think you need 3 books. Go audiobooks? No, you need rule books, not legitimate books. Okay, don't type that again in my chat room, Squizgar. Do not type that again. If you say anything like that, keep it on Discord. Do not type that again. Bad. That is very bad. You don't need the Arcane Tome. Arcane Tome of what? The Arcane Tome for... The Arcane Journal, you mean? Like this thing? You don't need this? Hang on. This, you don't need this thing at all. I think the journals are kind of cool though, no? Because they give you more options. Includes rules for Heroes of Legend as well as 2 Armies of Infamy. Huh. Heroes of Legend. So you can play the old... Wait, didn't this book come out? This book came out. Why haven't I watched a review of it? Look at the goblins are fucking with elves. You can get it, but you don't entirely need it. Okay, fair enough. I think for the most part, though, I would buy it because it's a whole book dedicated to dwarves, or in this case, you know, orcs and goblins. Like, that's good. But you do need this book, correct? Or in my case, I need the Forces of Fantasy, the good book, not the bad book. That's so weird. I guess it was a way to, like, play your army immediately. Because this encompasses all the bad guy factions that are initially going to be released. And then the rulebook itself just tells you how to play the game. You need it if you want to play them now instead of waiting for their... Yeah. Makes sense. Well, thankfully for me, I'm not really playing anything right now. I have no time. But when I do get around to it, I will absolutely... Yeah, I'll check Discord. I will absolutely be playing. Because, like, the games are fun. And hobbying is great. So it's kind of like good to mix it up a bit. You know, you work on minis, then you play the game on TTS. You paint minis, you do TTS. You know, you can kind of do everything at once, honestly. You can even listen to audiobooks while you make stuff, and then you can play the game when you're done. That's a good gig. That is a pretty good gig. But yeah, anyways, I think it is a little bit late for me. We've been here for an hour and a half, and it is now 1:35 a.m. Or sorry, 12:35. They're massive. Yeah. I mean, it's cool. I usually buy the books, and honestly, I got to take some books off my shelf because they're just useful or useless now, and I can use these instead. But yeah, with that being said, I'm going to go. I did see some of it, but not all of it. And it was interesting, to say the least. There's videos of the eclipse on YouTube, and it's, like, really fucked up. I can have some old orc codexes. What you talk about? Anyways, I need to go, folks. It is very late for me. I will see you here tomorrow. I think I'll start the day off just playing on this channel. Maybe Dawn of War in the morning. And then when I'm tomorrow will be Dawn of War. Yeah, most likely in the morning, though. Maybe at night. We'll see. And then we'll do Black Mesa and League. All right? So with that being said, everybody take care. Be well. Stay safe. Thanks for hanging out. We did finish Signalis, and the game was a 7.5. That's what I'm giving it, and it's staying at a 7.5. I didn't understand a single fucking thing. I got anime robot women running around with no feet, fighting mutated flesh pit creatures in schizo rooms, and I don't know what's going on. But I think what I'll do is go watch a game breakdown while I go to bed. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Be well, stay safe. Thanks for hanging out. I will catch you tomorrow on this channel and on the main channel. And with that being said, have yourselves a great night. Peace, peace. And I will see you tomorrow. Peace. Peace, everyone. Have a good night, guys. Be well. Peace, peace.